desert air crackled with static electricity as Than's vehicle cut through the endless expanse of red sand. The twin suns of Viridian fire hung low on the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the barren landscape. It had been 15 years since he'd last seen the colony where he grew up, but the coordinates were etched into his memory like the constellations he'd spent his childhood mapping. As he approached the settlement, his heart sank. From a distance, he could already see the dilapidated state of what had once been a thriving community. The protective dome that had kept the harsh desert winds at bay was cracked in several places, allowing crimson sand to accumulate in drifts against abandoned structures. The alloy gates that had once gleamed with a bluish tint were now rusted and hanging precariously from their hinges. Than parked his rover at what used to be the main entrance and stepped out. The crunch of sand beneath his boots, the only sound in the eerie silence. This wasn't how he remembered home. In his memories, the colony buzzed with life, children playing in the artificial gardens, the soft hum of atmospheric processes, the melodic chimes that mark the beginning and end of each work cycle. He remembered the scent of night blooms that his mother cultivated in their garden pod, engineered to release their fragrance when Viridian's smaller sun dipped below the horizon. Most vividly, he remembered the nights when his father would take him to the observation deck, pointing out the constellations unique to this part of the galaxy, the Archer's Bow, the twin moons, and the Stellar Bridge, a magnificent band of stars that stretched across the night sky like a pathway to other worlds. One day, his father had told him, humans will reach the end of that bridge. Than had believed him then, with the unquestioning faith of a child. Now, as an astrophysicist himself, he understood the impossibility of such dreams. Stars were too distant, too indifferent to human aspirations. He approached his family home, located in what had once been the residential quadrant. The door was unlocked, swinging open at his touch as if welcoming him back. But the welcome ended there. The living room, where his family had gathered for meals and celebrations, was completely empty. No furniture, no decorations, no signs that anyone had ever lived there. The walls, once adorned with holographic family portraits and his sister's artwork, were bare. "Hello?" Than called out, his voice echoing through the vacant space. "Is anyone here?" Silence answered him. He moved from room to room, each as empty as the last. In what had been his parents' bedroom, he found the first sign that the house had indeed been occupied. A torn photograph on the floor. He picked it up, recognizing his family's faces smiling back at him. But the photo had been ripped, and on the back, written in his mother's handwriting, were the words, "Not here anymore." Than sat on the floor, clutching the photograph. What had happened? The colony had been established as a permanent settlement, designed to last for generations. Had there been an evacuation order he hadn't received? An environmental catastrophe? A political decision to abandon the outer rim planets? As the primary sun set, leaving only the dim light of the secondary sun, Than returned to his rover to retrieve his supplies. He would spend the night here, in this ghost of a house, and begin his investigation in the morning. Sleep evaded him that night. He lay on his portable cot in what used to be his childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling where luminescent stars had once been affixed, a birthday gift from his father when he turned 7. They were gone now, like everything else. When dawn broke, Than was already up, determined to find answers. He began a methodical search of the house, looking for any clues his family might have left behind. In his parents' bedroom, he discovered a loose panel in the flooring, a hiding place his mother had created for valuables. Inside was a small box containing his father's journal and a hand-drawn star map that didn't match any constellation pattern Than recognized. The journal's last entry was dated 5 years ago. "The Council has finally admitted what we've known for months. Viridian is changing. The star patterns are shifting too rapidly to be natural. Howe insists it's related to the ancient technology discovered in the southern hemisphere. I fear he may be right. We've been chosen for the first transport on the light vessel. Than, if you ever find this, we waited as long as we could. Look for us at Earth Lantern. Than's hand trembled as he closed the journal. Earth Lantern. He had never heard of such a place. And what ancient technology was his father referring to? As the colony's chief astronomer, his father had always shared his discoveries with Than. The star map must be a clue, he realized. But first, he needed to find someone, anyone, who might still be on Viridian Phi and could explain what had happened. He drove his rover into what had once been the colony's central plaza, the marketplace, where vendors had sold everything from synthetic spices to small mechanical toys, was deserted. The administrative buildings stood empty, their computer terminals dark and unresponsive. The school where Than had learned about Earth's history and the physics of space travel was half buried in sand. As he was about to leave the plaza, a movement caught his eye, a figure darting between buildings. Than accelerated, following the shadow until it disappeared into what had been the colony's data center. "I know you're in there," Than called out, standing at the entrance. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm looking for my family." After a moment of silence, a voice responded. "Than, is that really you?" A woman emerged from the shadows, her face partially obscured by a respirator mask. She removed it, revealing features that tugged at Than's memory. "Lin?" he asked, recognizing his childhood friend. "You're still here?" Lin's laugh was bitter. "Not by choice. I missed the last transport. Been scavenging ever since, waiting for another chance to leave." They sat in the remains of the data center as Lin explained what had happened 5 years ago. Strange phenomena began affecting Viridian V, temporal distortions, unexplained energy fluctuations, and most disturbing, subtle changes in the night sky. Stars began to shift position, familiar constellations warping or disappearing entirely. "Your father was one of the first to notice," Lin said. "He warned the council, but they dismissed it as observational error. By the time they acknowledged something was wrong, panic had already set in." According to Lin, an archaeological expedition in the southern desert had uncovered ruins of an ancient civilization, one that had existed on Viridian 5 long before humans arrived. Among the ruins was technology beyond human understanding, accidentally activated during the excavation. The scientists believed the technology was designed to move planets. Lin continued, to literally shift them through space to more hospitable regions when their stars began to die. "Somehow, we triggered it. Move an entire planet." Than was skeptical. "That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would be impossible by our understanding of physics," Lin interrupted. "But not for whoever built that technology. When it became clear Viridian was actually moving, being pulled away from its original position, the council organized evacuations. The light vessels came, taking people to Earth Lantern." "What is Earth Lantern?" Than asked. "A satellite planet in the Viridian system. Previously uninhabitable, but supposedly the ancient technology is terraforming it as we speak. That's where your family went, along with most of the colonists." Than showed Lin the star map his father had left behind. Her eyes widened in recognition. "This isn't just a map," she said. "It's an activation key for the emergency transport system. Your father must have left it for you, knowing you'd eventually return. Can you help me use it?" Than asked. Lin shook her head. "I'm an information hunter, not a scientist, but I know who might help. Dr. Howe still maintains the observatory on the outskirts of the colony. If anyone can decipher this, it's him." The observatory stood on a ridge overlooking the colony, its massive telescope dome still intact. Unlike the abandoned buildings below, the observatory showed signs of recent activity. Lights glowed from within, and a small atmospheric vehicle was parked outside. Dr. Howe, The colony's former chief scientist and Than's father's colleague had aged considerably since Than last saw him. His once dark hair was now completely white, and deep lines etched his face. He greeted Than with genuine surprise and warmth. "I always knew you'd return," he said, embracing Than. "Your father was certain of it too. That's why he left the map." Inside the observatory, Dr. Howe explained what had happened in more scientific detail. The ancient technology discovered in the southern hemisphere was part of a planetary propulsion system, designed by a civilization that had existed millions of years before humans. This civilization had developed the ability to move planets to escape dying stars or cosmic catastrophes. When our excavation team accidentally activated it, Viridian 5 began to move. Dr. Howe explained. "Not quickly. We're talking millimeters per day, but the cumulative effect over 5 years has been significant. We're no longer in our original position in space, which explains why the stars look different," Than realized. "Exactly," Dr. Howe nodded. "The constellations you grew up with no longer appear in the same configurations because we're viewing them from a different angle, a different point in space." Than thought about his childhood nights spent stargazing with his father, learning the patterns that had guided space travelers for generations. Those familiar touchstones were gone, replaced by an alien sky. "But why evacuate?" Than asked. "If the planet is just moving position." "Because we don't know where it's taking us," Dr. Howe interrupted. "The system appears to be programmed to seek out a specific stellar configuration, perhaps the home system of those who built it. The Council decided it was safer to relocate the colony to Earth Lantern, a small moon that had previously been uninhabitable but is being transformed by the same technology. And my family, are they there?" Dr. Howe's expression softened. "Yes. Your father continued his work until the very end, helping to establish the new observatory on Earth Lantern. Your mother and sister went with him. They waited for you. Than, as long as they could." Thang felt a complex mixture of relief and regret. His family was alive, but he had missed their departure by years due to his extended research mission in the galaxy's inner rim. "Can I still reach them?" he asked. "That's where the star map comes in," Dr. Howe said, examining the hand-drawn chart Than had found. "This isn't just a map. It's a key. Your father encoded the coordinates for Earth Lantern, but also instructions for activating one of the remaining emergency transport pods." Dr. Howe led Than to the observatory's main telescope. "Let's compare your father's map to the current sky. Then we'll know exactly how to program the transport." As they worked through the night, Than felt a growing sense of urgency. According to Dr. Howe, Viridian 5 was accelerating its movement. Soon, it would be too far from Earth Lantern for the emergency transport system to function. "We need to get you to the launch facility by tomorrow," Dr. Howe said as dawn approached. "The window of opportunity is closing." Lin insisted on accompanying them to the launch facility, located beneath the colony's central plaza. "I've been waiting for a chance to leave this ghost town," she said. "I'm not missing it." The facility was powered down but intact. Dr. Howe worked feverishly to restore the systems, while Than and Lin prepared the single remaining transport pod, a sleek, egg-shaped vessel designed for emergency evacuations. "The pod can only carry 2, Dr. Howe said, not looking up from the control panel. "You and Lin must go. I'm too old for another new beginning," Than protested, but Dr. Howe was adamant. "I've made my peace with staying," he insisted. "My work here is not yet complete. Someone needs to document what's happening to Viridian V, to record this remarkable journey for scientific posterity." As they made final preparations, a catastrophic rumble shook the facility. Sections of the ceiling collapsed, and warning alarms blared. "The movement is accelerating," Dr. Howe shouted over the noise. "The planet's core is becoming unstable. You need to leave now." In the chaos that followed, Than lost sight of Lin. He called out for her, but there was no response. Dr. Howe pushed him toward the transport pod. "Go, find your family," the old scientist urged. "I'll find Lin." Torn between waiting and leaving, Than made the painful decision to enter the pod. As the door sealed, he caught a final glimpse of Dr. Howe disappearing into the smoke-filled corridor, searching for Lin. The launch sequence initiated automatically. Through the pod's small viewport, Than watched as the facility crumbled around him. The pod shot upward through an emergency shaft, breaking through the surface just as a massive fissure split the central plaza in two. From above, Than could see the entire colony, now half buried in sand and breaking apart as Viridian Vi's tectonic plates shifted. The observatory on the ridge collapsed in a cloud of dust. Than closed his eyes, saying a silent farewell to Dr. Howe and Lin, hoping against hope that they had found another way to escape. The pod accelerated into the upper atmosphere, following a pre-programmed trajectory. Than felt the familiar sensation of artificial gravity engaging as the vessel left Viridian Vi's gravitational field. Through the viewport, he watched his childhood home recede, a red and gold sphere now marred by spreading cracks across its surface. For hours, the pod traveled through empty space. Than alternated between checking the navigation system and staring out at the unfamiliar stars. None of the constellations he knew were visible. It was as if he were in an entirely different part of the galaxy. Just as despair began to set in, a small, blue-green orb appeared in the distance. As the pod approached, Than could make out artificial structures surrounding the planetoid, orbital platforms, docking stations, and most notably, enormous mirror arrays that appeared to be redirecting sunlight to the surface below. This was Earth Lantern, he realized, a moon that had been transformed into a habitable world through a combination of human ingenuity and the ancient technology discovered on Viridian Fire. The pod's communication system crackled to life. "Unidentified vessel, this is Earth Lantern Control. Identify yourself and state your purpose." "This is Than Nguyen," he responded, his voice shaking with emotion. "Son of astronomer Nguyen and Dr. Mai Nguyen. I've come from Viridion Phi." A long pause followed. Then, "Than, is it really you?" The voice was familiar. His sister, Hoa, now working in Earth Lantern's control center. "Yes," he managed to say through tears. "I found Father's map." "Initiating emergency docking procedures," Hoa responded, her own voice thick with emotion. "Welcome home, brother. We've been waiting for you." The pod was guided to a docking station on one of the orbital platforms. As the airlock cycled, Than prepared himself for the reunion he had traveled so far to find. When the door opened, he was enveloped in an embrace, his mother, father, and sister all reaching for him at once, their tears mingling with his own. "You found us," his father said, holding Than's face between his hands. "I knew you would." "The map," Than said. "I found it. But Dr. Howe and Lin, they stayed behind. The planet was breaking apart when I left." His father's expression grew solemn. "We'll honor their sacrifice. They gave you the chance to reach us." Later, standing on an observation deck overlooking Earth Lantern, Than took in the sight of the new colony. Unlike the harsh desert of Viridian 5, this world was covered in vast oceans and emerging vegetation. Massive atmospheric processes worked to maintain a breathable environment, while the mirror arrays in orbit provided the necessary light and heat. "It's not Viridian," his father said, standing beside him. "But we're making it home." "What about the star patterns?" Than asked. "They're all different here." His father smiled. "Look up tonight. We've been mapping the new constellations. There's one that reminds me of you, a pattern of stars that forms a bridge between two distant points. We call it the Returner." That night, Than stood on the balcony of his family's new home, gazing up at an unfamiliar sky. The stars here were arranged in patterns he didn't recognize, their light filtering through the artificial atmosphere to create subtle prismatic effects. It was beautiful, but foreign. As he watched, lights began to appear across the settlement. Not electric lights, but thousands of lanterns being released into the night sky. They floated upward, their warm glow merging with the starlight. "It's a tradition we started," his sister explained, joining him on the balcony. "On the anniversary of our arrival here. We call it the Night of New Stars. Each lantern represents something we left behind, but also our hope for the future." Than thought of Viridian V, now likely shattered and scattered across space. A victim of technology its inhabitants never fully understood. He thought of Dr. Howe, who had chosen to remain and document the planet's journey. He thought of Lin, who had wanted so desperately to leave. "I have something for you," his father said, presenting Than with a small device. "It's a new star map, one I've been working on since we arrived. The constellations are different here, but no less magnificent." Than activated the device, watching as holographic star patterns appeared above it. His father had named them all, new configurations for a new home. "And there," his father pointed to a particular arrangement of stars, "is where we believe Viridian 5 is headed. Its journey continues, even if we're no longer aboard." In the days that followed, Than learned more about Earth Lantern and the community his family had helped build. The ancient technology discovered on Viridian Fa had not only moved the planet, but had somehow imprinted its function onto this moon, transforming it into a habitable world at an accelerated pace. Scientists, including Than's mother, were still studying the process, hoping to understand the principles behind it. The colony itself was a blend of the familiar and the new. Many of the structures resembled those from Viridian Phi, but adapted to the different environmental conditions. The people, too, carried their old traditions while establishing new ones suited to their changed circumstances. Thang was given a position at the new observatory, working alongside his father to map the changed sky and track Viridian Phi's continuing journey through space. The work was challenging but fulfilling, giving him a purpose and a way to process all that had happened. One evening, as Than was adjusting the observatory's main telescope, an alert sounded from the communications array. A signal, weak but unmistakable, was being received from deep space. "It's coming from Viridian's direction," the communications officer reported. The message was fragmentary, distorted by distance and interference, but Than recognized the voice immediately. "Lin." Survived. Dr. Howe. Ancient ship. Following. Earth Lantern coordinates. Hope surged through Than. Somehow, Lin and Dr. Howe had survived the planetary breakup. Perhaps they had found another transport pod, or even managed to activate more of the ancient technology. For weeks, the observatory focused all its resources on tracking the signal and attempting to establish clearer communication. Finally, a breakthrough came. A small vessel was detected approaching Earth Lantern, its design unlike anything in the human fleet. When the vessel docked, Than was there to greet it. The airlock opened to reveal Lin, looking exhausted but triumphant, and behind her, Dr. Howe, somehow even more aged but very much alive. "You made it." Than embraced them both. "How?" "The ancient civilization left more than just planetary engines," Dr. Howe explained. "They left ships, vessels designed to follow the planets they moved. We found one as Viridian was breaking apart. It practically activated itself when we approached." "The ruins were a spaceport," Lin added, "hidden beneath the sand all this time. We think the ancients intended for planets to be moved and populations to follow in these vessels." The arrival of Lin and Dr. Howe brought not only joy to the colony, but valuable information about the ancient technology. Dr. Howe had managed to download vast amounts of data from the ruins before escaping. Information that would help the scientists of Earth Lantern better understand their new home. 6 months after his arrival on Earth Lantern, Than stood on the highest point of the colony, watching the dual sunset. The larger sun dipped below the horizon first, followed by the smaller companion star. As darkness fell, the artificial atmospheric lanterns activated, bathing the colony in a soft, golden light that mimicked the warmth of day. Above, the unfamiliar stars emerged, now arranged in constellations that Than had helped to map and name. The fear and disorientation he had felt upon first seeing this alien sky had faded, replaced by a sense of wonder and possibility. His father joined him, pointing to a particular arrangement of stars. "There's your constellation," he said. "The Returner. It's become quite popular among the children here. They tell stories about it, about a traveler who crossed the void to find his family." Thang smiled. "Is that why they named the new school after me?" His father laughed. "Partly, but mostly because you brought back hope when you arrived. You showed everyone that even across changed stars, we can find our way back to each other." As they stood watching the night deepen, a shooting star streaked across the sky, a phenomenon that had been rare on Viridian 5 but was common here due to the moon's asteroid field. "Make a wish," his father said. Thang closed his eyes briefly, then opened them to take in the view of Earth lanterns spread out below, the lights of the colony, the emerging forests, the gleaming surface of the new ocean. He thought of the journey that had brought him here, across a desert of abandoned memories and a void of unfamiliar stars. "No need," he said finally. "I'm already home." His father squeezed his shoulder in understanding. Home wasn't Viridian 5 or Earth Lantern. It wasn't a place at all. It was the people who waited for you, who left maps for you to follow, who recognized your voice across the void of space and time, as they made their way back down to the colony. Than paused to look up one last time at the unfamiliar stars. They were different from those of his childhood. Their patterns, strange and new, but they shone with the same light, guided with the same constancy. And beneath them, he had found what he had traveled so far to seek, not just his family, but a sense of belonging that transcended physical location. The stars might change, he thought, but the heart's navigation remained true. And that was enough.